do you? I love it. Ooh, I love
Good evening,
it.
Internet.
Good evening, internets, peoples.
It is that time again. It is time for Scuba and The Ry.
Yes, Raga. Woo!
Right here, week of November 30th. Busy week as we get ready for the start of the slide roller coaster chaos that is December.
December. Can you believe it? We're at the end of 2022.
And we're getting pretty bloody close.
Yes.
Pretty bloody close.
It just makes me realize how fast this year has flown by. It feels like it.
It has. It's wild. It's been quite the year. We've got a few shows left for 2022 before we take our end of year holiday break.
Yes, sir.
All that, but that's okay. We already got the little Christmassy dealios up there.
Yes.
So yeah, but man, we got a lot to talk about. We didn't do a show last week because last week was Thanksgiving, and there was no shortage of things to do.
Nope.
For that. So we got quite a bit. We got games, we got adventures, we got movies. I mean, I think Ryan almost lived at the movie theater for the weekend. I'm telling you, people, he's got 4 reviews we got this week.
Oh yeah, yeah. Thanksgiving is one of those holidays where a chunk of films drop, and there's still a chunk that I didn't watch from this past weekend, like Strange Worlds, Devotion, Till, and there's another indie film that I missed.
I think I want to check out Strange Worlds just because I thought Strange Worlds would be interesting with Jake Gyllenhaal and Dennis Quaid and all that. So we'll see how that goes. I went on an adventure.
You did go on an adventure.
I did. I went to the VA ComiCon up in Richmond, Virginia at Richmond International Speedway.
How was that?
That was overall a pretty good trip.
Okay.
It was me, my wife, and Mayflower. If you remember her from our stream, she was one of our moderators or whatever. Mayflower.
Shout out to May.
She came along. She tagged along because she wanted to go visit the con. So she brought a cosplay. Even entered the cosplay competition.
Did she finish in any top tier round, or how did it?
Unfortunately, no, but it was her first one she cosplayed at, and we were talking about GalaxyCon Richmond now, and maybe making maybe making a weekend trip out of that.
Yep, that should be fun. Yeah.
Well, we'll see how that goes. But
Wada.
There was a person there who had a Namor cosplay for Wakanda Forever.
Was it pretty good?
It was the full headdress.
That sounds like it was pretty good.
It was. She got one of the prizes, but they had male, female, adult, child, and group. And I have to say, the winner of the group costume was hands down picked before it even started.
What was the group winner?
It was a couple.
Okay.
They had dressed up as Cookie Monster and Oscar the Grouch.
I can vision it in my head.
Complete with trash can and friends.
You can't do it without the trash can and friends.
I mean, it was she had rigged it up on like little casters that like the chair or like those cheap drawer unit casters, just to help her kind of walk it around. But I mean, it was like full plush fur. I mean, it really did look like they stepped off the show onto the floor. The costumes were that close to being the same ones you see on Sesame Street. But we saw them walking around, and when it got to group and the #1 winner, it was like everybody crowded around had no second thoughts on who that person or that they were going to be the top tier, because they had arguably the best costume.
That is pretty cool. I always love the innovations, especially when people come up with unique combinations and go all out.
Well, we have another friend of ours. He and his girlfriend are up there, and she dressed as Harley Quinn.
Which version of Harley Quinn?
I want to say probably the Arkham Harley Quinn.
Okay.
The leather pants and the leather corset.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
And the hammer.
Yeah.
And she had bought the hammer at GalaxyCon Raleigh, she was telling us. And at one point, she actually denied her boyfriend the ability to carry the hammer because he almost caused a lot of chaos wandering around with it.
Oh yeah, I can see that happening.
But yeah, from a cosplay standpoint, whatever, it looked really cool. It's the first. Yeah, we've done a couple of different conventions, but this one's like the Comic-Con thing, and we ended up spending the whole day. That was the plan, to spend the whole day there. We left about an hour before closing.
Okay.
But there was 90 vendors and a couple hundred people, couple thousand in attendance. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
It was tucked off in a little building on the compound that is Richmond International Speedway. But the overall experience wasn't bad. I actually started going through looking for comics.
Okay.
And realizing that I need to seriously figure out how to inventory my comics.
There you go.
So I actually got my hand. I called up my friends, because you always talk to your friends.
Yeah.
And I found this app called CLZ Comics.
Okay.
Right? Now, it turns out it's actually part of a family of apps, but I'll get to that in a second. But the CLZ apps is very cool because it allows you to use your mobile device and use the phone camera to scan the barcode of the comic.
Okay.
And then upload it into your thing. I wish I had thought ahead of this. I would have pulled up my app so you could see this on the screen. But anyways, but it was nice because it took me about 2-3 hours.
Okay.
To inventory and put in all of my current comic collection, including what I picked up at Richmond. And then I attached it to another app, which is called another service, which is called Cover Price.
Okay.
And they are a company that compiles data on comic sales. So it can give you kind of a real world idea how much the comic would sell for if you sell it. And I made a goof in my setup. I misunderstood a term, and as a relatively novice comic book collector, I'm going to admit I misunderstood this term. So when I'm going into these comics, right, there's and I'm looking at my edit, there's the main information, which gives you the name, who's in it, when it was released, issue number, all that great data stuff. Then there's the personal, where you can rate your view of this comic.
Okay.
I give it, how many stars, did I read it, when did I buy it, who did I buy it from, for that whole kind of tracking. Well, then there's a thing called value. And then they have an option is either raw or slabbed. Now, in my misunderstanding, I thought slabbed was in the little plastic bag with the little cardboard backer. No, slabbed is when you've had it professionally appraised and they stuff it in a sealed plastic container.
Okay.
With that rating on it. You know how I know I'd messed up? Because when I connected my thing to CLZR and did the pricing, it said my collection was worth north of $7,000.
Okay, so
and it was like,
somebody's losing the collection tonight.
Well, then I realized, slabbed means this. So I had to go back through, and thankfully, the app is very easy to go through.
Yeah.
And do like all I've done is I've scanned them and made sure they were in there. I had a few of them I had to create a profile for because the comics weren't in their database, but I had copies. So, cool things on that. But I flipped everything from slabbed to raw.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, resynced again. And okay, now I'm down to about $2,000 in value.
Okay, still good, a good price, but
what it got
difference, a big difference though.
I mean, it's like, and some of these books I've had for a while because these were like series that I really was into. So it's kind of one of those things. I'm like, maybe because looking at the slabbed value versus the raw value, It's like, if I mean, it looks like it still might be in good condition. I don't know, but it's some of these comics are making me think I really want to send them off, because my friend figured out a service that lets you send your cards and comics to have them appraised and slabbed.
Okay.
I might do that with a few of these just to get them slabbed and have that value, because while we were at Comic-Con, I noticed that several of the vendors had boxes of slabbed comics that you could buy.
There you go.
And it's like, obviously you have to accept that you're never going to read the comic, because the minute you open that plastic container to read the comic, you've now negated the value.
Yeah.
It has to be recertified. But it's and then it's like, do I really want to justify the price? Well, a couple of my books, if they seem like they're in really good condition to me, if they were slabbed, they'd be worth and they had a high enough rating slab, they'd be somewhere around $400 of value. And it's like, for me, that blows my mind.
Yeah.
It really blows my mind, because it's like, these are like, really?
Hey,
Really?
you never really know what you think is just dirt on the floor. It can become gold in your hand. So.
Well, I mean, it's also, again, if people, it's a lot like anything else with currency and money. It's like, if you have it and someone else feels it's of value, it has value.
Yeah.
I mean, there are numbers of things like some of the stuff, like if you want to look at age, I've got comics that were originally published in the 1930s,
Yeah.
the 1940s, and whatnot.
Those might be worth some money.
But they're not worth nearly as much as some of my stuff from the 90s.
Yeah.
Like I've got classic companies that are no longer in business that did like Mickey Mouse and Looney Tunes and stuff like that. They're worth a couple of bucks. But then my Maximum Carnage series is just the lowest valued comic is worth more than those. It's weird.
Yeah, it's all about, like you said, that person group, or what sect of society, they value it. Hey, it's got value.
Yeah, but I figured, you know what, I would look and I would see if I could find some more books for a couple of series. Like a buddy of mine recommended a series. It was Judge Dredd versus Predator.
Okay.
A 90s crossover thing. It was a really great hook, but it's one of a 4-part series. So they didn't have the other 3 in my local shop. So I figured I would take a look. Of course, me being me and being weird as I am, I happen to be interested in books from Dark Horse, which most of the vendors at the con mostly had DC and Marvel.
Yeah.
And here I'm looking for Dark Horse.
Yeah, it might be hard to find.
Little hard, and there was one vendor. I started to look through his boxes and stopped about 2 boxes in and walked away, because none of the books were organized.
Yeah.
None of them. I mean, it was a literal just nightmare. Some of the other vendors I went through and was searching through, I could literally, figure out where in the alphabet I was at, how they had it structured, and could go through them pretty quickly. And of course, I got some really good deals. I think I only spent like maybe $20 on comics.
That's good,
and
though.
I walked out with a number of them, a couple of series and things. But my bigger purchases were like, I bought Pops. Yes, you heard me, internet. I bought Pops.
I am shocked over here that he bought one.
I bought
Not just
2.
one.
I
Yeah,
bought
2. 2 people. 2.
I bought 2 Star Wars Pops because I like Star Wars Pops.
Yeah.
I did see a couple of Pops I wanted, but I did not in a position to buy them. I saw a Kanan Jarrus,
Okay.
Star Wars Rebels, and I found a Zeb. The Zeb was $50. The Jarrus was $75.
That's still on the cheap end on some pop that I want that cost a lot.
Oh yeah, and my wife got a few Pops. She's got we really believe this Pop is a life-size replica of a
Porg. Yeah.
A little fuzzy creature in Star Wars that was introduced in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
She's got that one. It's the biggest. It's in that giant Pop category.
Yeah. I have one of those giant pops. I have a Wally size giant pop. So
I did find some other really cool things. One of my favorites was really nostalgia. Is this little tucked away vendor had like a little kind of hallway for his stuff, and inside one of the little plastic drawer units that he had was Gen 1 Transformer toys.
That would be a keeper.
Now we're talking. I say Gen 1 Transformers. I'm talking about the original released 80s, 90s toys that were majority metal.
All right.
Not the current generation where it's predominantly plastic.
Yeah, that reminds me. I need to head over to a toy store to check out some things. I need to take you there one day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, we'll have to check it out. But
Yep.
I saw those. I saw a Skywarp. The Skywarp is the one I had when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
And they had one there. It was like $70. And I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
But
Toys have value.
they also had an Optimus Prime complete with the trailer. So it was like, nope. But it's interesting. And then of course saw some vendors. There was 3 art authors I spoke with. Who all have really interesting series. They were smart, Ry. They were smart.
Okay.
They had their and they're all local guys too. They're all local to Virginia and Richmond. All 3 of them have, 2 of them have books out, and they're like 3 or 4 series deep into their books, but they had QR codes for Audible.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't have to buy the book. I scanned it and I've got all of them in my wish list.
There you go.
So I could listen to these. I think one of them was like a high fantasy with no magic.
That's
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's very much a Game of Thrones kind of thing. High fantasy with no real magic.
High fantasy that a modern kind of dystopia. One of them was Asian inspired, a lot of samurai and Eastern culture. So that was an interesting one. The third guy I talked to, he got his artwork. His books have been around long enough to receive a few awards for being a newer writer for his genre and whatnot he's in. But he had the cover art done by the same guy who does the cover art for the Jim Butcher Dresden Files.
Yeah.
Which is a book series I'm currently working through. And he's in the process of getting them converted into audiobook.
Yeah.
Through Audible. And it's just scheduling time. But it was nice because it was talking to these artists and authors and their stories and their setups that they have. And they've been around, they've had multiple book series. It's like $25 for it's like the whole series on Audible front to back. So I figured I'd check that out, listen to them, go back and be like, if I see the author again, now I can hey, I did check out your books. I want to go and get physical copies because these stories were awesome. Or even so, I heard the stories. I thought they were still pretty cool because right now it's like I listen to all these books and it's like these authors are people I'll never see or meet.
Yeah.
But to actually, go to a con and go and meet someone who is writing this stuff, I thought was really cool.
Yeah, they populate these cons, so it's always good to see those small artists that come and see what kind of stories they dive into that'll be different than the mainstream stuff that you see. So
yeah, and I have to say I have to wrap this up with my favorite purchase, and my big purchase was this bust. I got
a great bust.
It is a great 3D bust of Grand Admiral Thrawn.
It is magical when you look at it, people.
Yeah, the print on this is ridiculous. This was done with an injection printer, 3D printer.
Yeah.
So basically it has the spool of filament and it goes around and around and around to do that. But it's you really have to look close to see the layers.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing this and I'm like, I'm gonna paint the uniform to be the white, get that, and then get the head. But the guy who makes these was like, yeah, I can't do painting, but I try to pick a color that best represents the character and do the whole thing. And he had Deadpool, he had Wolverine, he had Vecna, he had dice trays, dice towers. I mean, this whole thing. And his shop is, and we'll put this in the show notes, is called Sinister at Arms Cosplay. He
Definitely
was
have to
talking
follow
about
him.
his Mandalorian build that he was putting together, but they have a Facebook and an Instagram. But he says he normally pairs this Thrawn with a Darth Vader. He just didn't have any Darth Vaders that weekend,
Yeah.
so I'm definitely gonna look forward to seeing him to see his Darth Vader, because his Wolverine was just amazing.
Worth following and figuring out where he's gonna be next.
Because it was a full body Wolverine, claws extended, and there ain't no part of that looks like it'll break.
That's pretty dope.
It is. It's really dope. He was sitting there saying he'd put his Wolverine or his Thrawn against anybody with a resin printer versus the injection printer. So.
From what I can see, that would definitely be a challenge that he should accept, and he might win.
Yeah. So that was the Comic-Con adventure. Not too bad, about $20 over my budget for everything I got, just because the Grand Admiral is the most expensive thing I purchased. But we getting pops and comics and just meeting people, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love going to cons. I do it every year, at least one, most of the time two. We'll try to do 3 if it's possible next year.
Yeah. And got some games, but I think I'll save those for State of Game a little later on. But Ry, what about you? Looks like you went to the Funny Bone. You went to the zoo.
Oh yeah, I had a lot of fun times, because after the last cast, I had the week off for Thanksgiving. So kicking off that week off was the Saturday prior to Thanksgiving. I went to Funny Bone and I got to see a comedian I've been following for a while online in person. His name's Gary Owen, who is hilarious. And then his opening act, I guess, is a good friend of his, and he was just as funny. Yep, adult rated, because if you ever go to Funny Bone, it is 21 and up. But he's very raw in his humor, and it's what I like about it is very raw and very focused on personal matters, or the person. So it does feel real, and when the comedy is real, it's even more funnier to me. And like the last time when I went to Funny Bone, when I saw King Batch back in August, did the meet and greet, got to meet and talk to him, take photos up on the stage with him, which if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see the photos there. So yep, that was pretty dope. And then for the week off, lots of movie watching, which we'll talk later. And also, I have a membership at the zoo. It was pretty good weather Thanksgiving week, so why not hang out at the zoo with the animals?
It was weird. We were like having like frost and cold all the way up till, and then Thanksgiving it was like 70 degrees here in Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
Like,
so I went there on a Tuesday, and on the Tuesday it was nice weather, so hung out with the animals at the zoo. And then throughout the week, not just one specific day, because Black Friday sales actually spread out over weeks now. So over the week,
a couple places are like a month of Black Friday.
Yeah, month of Black Friday. So I spent the week, including the main day, shopping for Black Friday, and I bought a lot of things. Within a budget, put that in quotes, I bought a lot of things and saved a lot of money buying certain things.
So was that budget a flexible budget?
It was a flexible on what did I see and was it worth buying for what was the deal. So yeah, but the main thing I wanted to do was get new headphones. It's not these are for the show, but I did get some new headphones, which are a really good deal. Got another Google Mini to plug in the house. Got a game, which I'll talk about later. Like, I played the waiting game, like I told you. Hey, I'm gonna wait for Black Friday. They might be on sale. And yes, I saved $30 on this game. So, and then some new running shoes, some new clothes, and another figurine to add to my collection of figurines. Currently, I'm trying to buy figurines for the 7 Deadly Sins manga anime set. So, that is my goal, to finish out that set before I move on to the next group. Of that. And then other than that, over Thanksgiving, did the Thanksgiving thing at home, did the Friendsgiving thing. On Saturday, we had a theme where we brought food based on the first letter of our name. So I kind of played around wordplay with mines with R. There's a lot of variety of foods you can bring: ramen, rice, ribs.
I mean, that was like the first thing. It's like, come on, Ry. I know you better than that.
Yeah, I did wordplay.
Much better.
I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do rolls of sushi. So I brought a bunch of sushi for the Friendsgiving. So.
Oh Oh, great.
Yeah. So.
Hey, you know what? We're good. Doesn't mean it had to be the.
But it was a good time.
Could be how it looks.
Oh yeah, and that's pretty much it. Other than what we'll be talking about later. So
yeah.
Yep. And also finishing up the semester. Not going to talk about that because I don't want to think about it. So.
Well,
take it away.
We can talk about it next week when you finish.
Yeah, eventually. Eventually. You know, I try not to procrastinate, but at the same time I get it done before ahead time, but so it's one of those things. Yeah. I've got the paper halfway written. The other half I have the notes and have the template set. It's just filling in the gaps. That's all.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time catching up on my YouTube feed because when I wanted to catch up on all of the Cyberpunk Red game that Sirenscape is doing, that pushed my YouTube watch later timeline back a few weeks. And somewhere in the north of 350 videos. I'm now under 300 videos.
That's good.
Currently I did just recently try to watch that SCORN. If you're the SCORN,
yeah, I know
game?
it's on Gamepass. I was thinking of trying it out, but with the game I just got and playing again through Lord of the Rings Online and maybe a couple.
For those I don't buy a lot of games, but I appreciate content creators who do games. And my favorite video game content creator is Gamer's Little Playground.
Yep, it is.
I love their stuff. Their videos are great because they'll play through the game and they'll do it like a full movie that you can watch. And I mean, it's been great. Their one for SCORN was roughly an hour long.
Yeah, the game's not that long to beat. It's only like 10 hours max.
I mean, it's got a very H.R. Giger vibe for as far as that Biotechnica artwork.
Yeah, it's very creepy.
It is. It's really gory, and at some I ended up skipping through the last half because it got me on the gore side, where it's like, okay, yeah, no.
You got it. You're like, I get it. I'm good.
I appreciate I hands off, tip of the hat to the artist and the designers and the theme they got the immersion thing, man. I was feeling a little grossed out.
Yeah. Man, if you want to play, it's up there on Game Pass.
So. Yeah, if you got Game Pass, check it out. Game Pass is great. The one I just started yesterday was Plague Tale Requiem.
Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about.
That one came out not too long ago either. That's a 6-hour video. But so far, you know what? Last week, we talked about the Gamer Awards. Plague Tale Requiem was in a number of those categories for story and gameplay. I gotta say, the bit I've seen so far, that's worth it. Yep. It is definitely worth checking out. I think that's another one that's on Game Pass right now.
Yeah, and if you haven't tried, because it's a sequel to A Plague's Tale. I forget what the first one's called, but it's just as good. Yeah. So you're gonna play it. Play the first one.
Very cool, very fun kind of story and conversation.
Very story driven, and dual character play is always fun.
But yeah, since we're into that, let's go ahead and talk about movie reviews.
Reviews. And having a week off means having a lot of movies to watch.
And we got 4 to go through, so we're gonna kick this off. We're gonna kick it off with The Menu.
Yes, sir.
So I heard about this one. This feels like one of those movies. It's a thriller, but it seems like it's playing on the same kind of weird scenario like the hide and seek movie early last year, where it's like the family got together and they ended up playing hide and seek and trying to kill each other. This one feels, the vibe I get from this is that this exclusive restaurant on an island with one way on and one way off has this ensemble cast of characters to enjoy a night with this top tier chef, but they find out that they're the ones on the menu, not the dishes. So, Ry, did I call it?
I would say you got about 15% right.
15% right. Okay, see, this is good advertising because the trailers led me to think that was what was going to happen.
Yep.
So, Ry, set me straight. Tell me why this movie did so well in convincing me it's one way and then going another.
Well, you did get it right. So this movie is a film focused on a character by the name of Chef Slowick, who is the best chef in the world, and his restaurant Hawthorne is on an island. It's an exclusive restaurant, like you said, where only the ones that can afford it can go. So he invites 12 people, including, it's an ensemble class of characters, but mainly focused on two characters: Margot, played by Anna Taylor-Joy, and Tyler, played by Nicholas Hoult. And through those eyes and 10 other people, they get invited to the restaurant. And then what you come to find out, there is a connective tissue between these 12 or at least the 11 people, not Margot, to Chef Slowick. And why did he invite them for this? And like you said, then it alludes to the fact that this might be their last meal because of some sinister motives happening. So on the surface, what makes this film so great is that it is very unexpected in the way that it's a masking commentary on foodie culture, but at the same time it plays on the world of food through a dark comedy. And what makes this such great is just the central figure of Chef Slowick and the performance by Ralph Fiennes, that he is so mysterious, and why is he serving these certain dishes and certain courses in a way that reflects on how these people are connected to him. And watching the ensemble cast and the ominous foreshadowing of what may or may not happen to these characters is what makes this film so great. And it provides context to how sometimes the people in the restaurant culture can feel a little pompous. And what it does, the writing in this takes that feeling of pompousness and it turns it into a more comedic and a sinister thing. Okay. And I don't want to go too far because what it is.
I was going to try and stop you right there.
I stop right there.
Go through, yeah. We don't want to be a little bit quick.
I'm stopping myself because I don't want to spoil it. But what's cool is that the mimicry of the food and the layering of the courses, no pun intended, it reflects upon the characters, and it really is important to focus on the dynamic between Margot and Chef Slowick in the movie, because there is something to their connection that leads into a very thrilling and satisfying third act, where it creates moments at the expense of human depravity.
All right, so what are we rating this?
Overall, it is a very strong dark comedy with that foodie culture twist. And if you like strong acting and just odd, quirky humor, but very dark, this is one for you. 4 out of 5, full price, worth seeing at the theaters.
All righty. Next up, we have Enola Holmes 2.
Yeah,
The Return.
Yeah. The Return, yes. So
this is out on Netflix.
Yes, on streaming, and it's available today. So
I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I tried to watch it last night, but all my Netflix use was chewed up by other people in the house. Go figure.
It happens.
It's all good, though. I know I'm going to watch it because I really enjoyed the first one. And this looks like it's just continuing to have a great time. So, all right. So set this up. This is taking place shortly after the first film.
Yeah, shortly after the first film. And basically it focuses on Enola Holmes. And she is trying to build up her business as a detective because she wants to be remembered as a great detective, like her brother, Sherlock, who's played by Henry Cavill. Enola Holmes, who's played by Millie Bobby Brown. If you recognize her, she's 11 from Stranger Things. And the film pretty much is that. So in the beginning, you find out where all the characters from the first movie are, and then just move forward with her trying to set her foot in trying to become a detective. And what happens is that she eventually picks up a case of a missing girl, but it leads to a larger conspiracy. So through that larger conspiracy, she's trying to solve this mystery, and it gets involvement from Sherlock and some other characters from the first film. And pretty much it's all about the detective work and trying to figure out how all of these cases, including Sherlock has his own case too, how all these cases tie into each other.
Yeah, that'd
So
be very curious. All right, so I mean, this one's pretty much. It sounds like it's pretty much exactly what you're expecting on this. It's
yeah.
just the cast and the character chemistry is really what makes this a lot of fun.
Yep. So what it is that it plays along. It's pretty much a journey of her trying to be a real detective. Unlike the first film, where it's a very aloofness, very coming of age. This one it's a detective film. She's trying to piece together all this evidence. But what makes it charming and joyful is that fourth wall breaking, the comedic aloofness that if you're familiar with the first, they do it here too. And just the camaraderie between her, especially her camaraderie between her and Sherlock, because there's a lot more time with her and Sherlock in here. So you get to see this like wholesome, whimsical brother sister dynamic, that parallels the conspiracy and the detective work that's happening in the film.
Now,
So, yeah,
so while we were at dinner earlier, we were talking about this, and yes, Enola Holmes is a book series that this is adapted from. It is a set of 8 books.
Yeah.
That you can get on Kindle, paperback, and hardcover. The first one released in 2006. The most recent one released in 2022.
Yep.
So this is a current series, again, with this whole twist of the Sherlock Holmes mythos.
Yep. So, it's very light on story and development and focuses on the detective work, which is okay because that's pretty much what you have here, and it's very fun because you have fun characters. And once you get to near the end in the third act, it does get a little convoluted with the mystery, but it doesn't push it over the edge of nonsensical, and then everything kind of wraps up kind of in a fun place. And then there is a stinger that people are going to enjoy. I'm not going to say it's like leading into a third movie, but you're going to enjoy it.
So what would you call this one?
Overall, it's a fun time. If you like detective stories, check it out. 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5. All right. Good Netflix movie watch.
Yep.
All right. Next up, we have Glass Onion, a sequel or the next film in the Knives Out series.
Yes.
Again, a wonderfully eclectic ensemble cast. From Dave Bautista, Edward Norton, Kate Hudson, Daniel Craig.
Yeah, Catherine Hahn, just to name a few.
So yeah, I recognize a few of them looking at the image, but so this was released to theaters for 1 week.
Yes.
And now it's gonna be going to who did this one? Netflix or?
Yeah, Netflix. What happened is with the original Knives Out, which me and Scuba watched and loved a lot. Netflix purchased the rights to the Knives Out sequels for $400 million. That's 2 movies for $400 million. Go figure. And it was slated to just be a streaming release, but they made a deal with the major 3 theaters to put it in for 1 week only. It'll go dark for 30 days, and it'll be on the streaming service around Christmas time.
Nice.
So just to preface that, it's just Netflix testing the waters of putting their big budget films in theaters because, they're trying to find other avenues to generate revenue. But that's for another story.
Yeah.
Glass Onion. So what this is, it focuses that's another detective story, and it focuses on Benoit Blanc, played by Daniel Craig, who must solve another mystery of uncertainty. So what it is that Benoit Blanc gets invited to this island suspiciously with a group of friends that they have this kind of like escape every year. And Edward Norton, who plays the main character Miles Braun, he's a rich and just a rich guy. I'm not going to give any spoilers away. He invites his close-knit family or close-knit group of friends to this island, his personal island in Greece. And he has this planned murder mystery. It's a planned murder mystery. But what happens is certain things happen that lead into something more sinister.
So a fake murder mystery turns into a real murder mystery.
Yeah. So the planned murder mystery just becomes a front for some underlying issues, layers of angst and animosity among the friends. So what happens is that with that planned murder mystery, it becomes a front from what really is the underlying revenge and all the stuff that's happening underneath with these friends.
All right, so let me ask you this. How does this compare to the first Knives Out, where it was really taking that Clue mystery movie and just turning it on its head.
Yeah. So, what Rian Johnson, who is the writer director of both these films, like the first one was a whodunit, but it turns it on his about face. Where in the first act, you know who the killer is. Where in this one, what he does is that he puts a focus on that. He takes a focus on the whodunit typicalness, but what he does, he does a play against type kind of directive. So he makes it another about face by doing kind of fragment storytelling, red herrings, and focusing on individual characters by developing this web of conspiracy where nobody's a suspect, but everybody's a suspect. And you really don't know what is in front of you because of the way that he builds up the characters and plays against trope.
Okay.
And it's really hard to explain without spoiling it, but what I can say is that this film pushes the term of clever conspiracy to another extreme. It creates characters that are fun, colorful, and very dynamic with all these characters, and you're wondering, how can all these people be friends? And when you start to slowly peel back the layers and the way that Rian Johnson plays with time, it adds an effect where he is using tropes as a way to trick the mystery into being a mystery of itself.
Okay.
So
what are we calling this one?
This is by far one of the most clever and original written scripts, albeit being ironically a sequel, but still being original. It's one of the best films of the year. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. And when you watch it, it's going to be funny and witty, and all the characters are just, it's just great.
Alrighty, and our last film review for this time is a new film from Steven Spielberg.
Yes.
The Fablemans.
Yeah, The Fabelmans.
All right. What's up with this one? I had never even heard of this one, so you said you were going to watch it.
The Fablemans is Steven Spielberg's next film, and it's kind of like a pseudo autobiography about his life. But what he does is that in this film, it focuses on a character called Sammy Fabelman, who becomes enamored with film after he watches The Greatest Show on Earth with his parents. The Greatest Show on Earth is a real film from 1950s. And from that point, what you watch is that you watch this film progress through a day in the life approach of the Fableman clan, but at the same time paralleling Sammy's affinity for film. So when you're watching this film, it's a very subtle narrative that builds through the family issues while also progressing through a hearty tone of inspiration. So it's a mixture of coming of age and family drama, but it's so much more than what its simplistic storytelling is. So this is one film that it goes against traditional play, and you're just kind of watching life develop and watching this kid Sam build up his skills and his understanding of film, but it's predicated against the family issues and stuff he starts to unravel in his life. So through the eye of the lens, he starts to see how film imitates life, but at the same time, when you're watching that happen, it's also happening within the direction of Steven Spielberg. So he has like a 3-tier layer where you're watching the life of the Fablemans, a coming of age of this character, and then the dynamic of what it means to film itself. So It's like, this is a film that sneaks up on you, and it becomes so emotionally driven by the end, and then you're just in awe of the technicality of what Spielberg does in this film because of how he puts an understanding of what it means to film life and life itself.
Alrighty. Cool. So what are we calling this one?
Overall, this is another strong outing for Spielberg. I give it a 4 out of 5 full price.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, very good eclectic of different films I saw over the Thanksgiving break.
Alrighty. So our next conversation piece is we're going to talk about Andor.
Yes.
Andor, for those of you who are not aware, Andor was the latest Star Wars TV series that was put out on Disney Plus. Arguably, probably the best thing out of the Star Wars universe, out of its recent renaissance of content.
the Disney Star Wars content.
Yeah, especially the streaming stuff. I mean, Mandalorian really opened the door, and I think Andor just was like, you think you know Star Wars? Well, let me tell you Star Wars.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh. I mean, 12 episodes keeps you going the entire way, and the payoff is so worth it.
Yes, this is a show that if you're not into slow burns or into big characterizations of ideology and growth, it might not be for you. But if you're into really strong depth storytelling and storytelling that we've talked off before, where you're not telling the audience what is, you're allowing the audience to see and feel and watch it through mimicry, imagery, and just character dynamics. This is the kind of storytelling that I love to see, because it actually makes you feel and breathe a world of growth. And it does one thing, just like The Mandalorian does one thing that I've been always saying with Star Wars. I want to see everything else in the dang universe. And in this show, you get to see the whole universe as it's developing, and also watching the rebellion develop before your eyes without being told it's developing, which makes this series, especially in that final episode, when you see see him standing there, Luthen standing there in the street watching the people react to the Empire. He's watching the rebellion begin. Yeah, he's watching the grassroots.
Yeah, and the thing is, this was so clever.
Yeah.
You saw it from the opening credits all the way through.
Yeah.
Like, if you noticed, it's like if you watch this, every episode, the opening credit and the music is adding layers each time we progress through to where finally we have this full sound bite. And then as you watch it, the final episode, you see that opening sound is the funeral procession that is happening on the planet that Andor grew up on.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a great. I love the series because it is a slow burn.
Yeah.
But it's an espionage. It's a political thriller. It's seeing people are in really desperate situations.
It's giving gravitas to characters and situations that would just be tropey if written a different way.
And I think if we do this right, like, we know how Andor's story ends.
Yeah, if you know where it's going to end.
So there's already a segment of people who are going to see this and be like, well, why should I feel invested? He dies at the end of Rogue One.
It's more than just about him.
And I think that's the part that if they really lean into that right, I think you will get a better understanding of who Andor is.
Yeah.
And why in Rogue One, when they're about to do their daring mission that they all die on, it's like, hey, I've done a lot of this stuff. Here's something I want to do that I could be proud of.
Yeah.
So it gives you an idea that he really had, given what Luthen's monologue in episode 10 or 11.
I think it was 10.
I think it was 10. That really wonderful monologue.
It's one of the best monologues I've ever heard.
Yeah, I mean, right up there.
Yeah.
And it's like, you realize that, it's like the more he hangs out with Luthen, it's like the more dark it is to try and fight the Empire.
Yeah. And it adds, and it also, speaking of the Empire, it adds another layer of dynamic to the Empire, where you already know they're bad, but they take the Empire and make them sinister in a very scary way.
That's because one of the things I love about this is the fact that we focus on the ISB.
Yeah.
We don't focus on the Imperial Navy.
No.
We don't focus on that at all.
Focus on these little webs of stuff.
We focus on the ISB and the ISB's socio-political structure.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just what's great, and I can't wait for the next season on this.
Yeah.
But I agree. I feel it's a full 4.5 out of 5.
Yep.
If not, almost perfect 5.
Yeah, 4.5 out of 5. Just ding it because it is a slow burn. Even for me, that who loves slow burns, it is a slow burn, and I take that into effect. And this gets me excited because Mandalorian season 3 is right around the corner.
Yeah, but did you watch the post credit?
Yes, I saw it.
If you watched, I was sitting there because there's another YouTuber, Screen Crush. He likes to do the Easter egg things.
Yeah.
And I had just watched episode 12. I got to the start of the credits, not thinking any different because, you know, I switched over and watched his latest bit. And when he's like, oh, and that post-credits scene was so good. If you haven't seen it yet, I'll wait. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm going back. And then the payoff for that post-credits scene, brilliant.
Yeah.
Utterly brilliant.
It's how you do. It's how you what's the word I'm looking for?
It's a good way of doing a series and setting up and playing into payoffs that for things you introduce early on.
It's a good way to do nostalgia that has meaning.
Yes.
That post credit scene. It's not just forced in like and it's like, you know what's coming.
Oh yeah, we all know what's coming.
But there's more girth to it because of how the show is written.
And I like it. I really like how it layers all of that.
Yeah.
I think there was an article I was reading recently where they were talking about teasing characters for season 2. And the argument, and this is I think a pretty valuable argument, is if you look at introduction of another Star Wars character from the films, and other properties, you have to be careful who you introduce because you don't want to introduce somebody that overshadows the entire season.
Yeah.
Because right now they're discussing Palpatine and Grand Admiral Thrawn. The argument for both is pretty valid. Palpatine because he's the Emperor and with the ISB, and then Thrawn because he has close ties with the ISB and Admiral Yularen, which we see from Star Wars Rebels. But it seems like, okay, this probably is not a good idea to bring these characters in, which would probably be great fan service.
Yeah.
However, their gravitas of being who they are in the Star Wars universe might overshadow whatever story they're trying to tell in season 2.
Yeah.
Just my thought. I happen to agree. We'll see how it goes.
Yep. But this is a great show. It's probably one of my favorite series of this year.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. So.
Totally. Alrighty. All right. Next up, we got our state of game.
Yep. I haven't done a state of game in a while.
No, we haven't really had a lot of game. Well, I mean, technically last time we did have a little bit of state of game because we were talking about the Game Awards. And blah blah blah.
But
you know,
focusing on actually have
we're
some
playing games to talk about.
I do still play games, but it's just, you know, you don't want to hear me talking about the same game for like 15 weeks. So
well, you got a first impression game, which is Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin.
Yes.
What's up with that?
All right, so Strangers of Paradise Fantasy Origins is basically it's an action role-playing game in the Final Fantasy universe, but what it is that it's a dark fantasy interpretation of the setting from the original Final Fantasy game, like the OG Nintendo game. So you play a character named as Jack, and he's a man that's consumed by a need to destroy chaos. So that's what the premise is. I've only played a few hours into the game, and the story is very general to the idea of typical fantasy, but what it is that it's the world, the combat, and the characters that are fun. And being that it is an action RPG, you're controlling the main character's Jack, but you also have NPCs that will come along and fight with you. So when you're fighting, you have a set of different skills that you can swap between. I think it's like 15 plus, and they call these jobs. And within these jobs, you level up. And then you add points that will develop these certain weapons. So right now I'm doing a Lancer and dual wielding, and you can switch between them constantly.
Nice.
And you're leveling up, but what is really good, which I love, why I like action RPGs, is the loot. The loot system is insanely stupid, and what I mean by insanely stupid in a good way, like within like the first few hours, I have gotten crap ton of items that I can use and maneuver and mangle how I want it to be, and then you can use them on your other characters as well. So far it's pretty fun. It does combine elements. It's a Souls-like game because the enemies are hard, but it is a Final Fantasy game, so you do get that action-y element. If you're familiar with Final Fantasy 7 Remake or 15, you'll understand the action that is in this game. So overall, so far, having fun. Haven't got too far into the story other than Jack wants to kill Chaos. He literally talks about it every 5 seconds. There's a cinema cutscene, but that's for another day. So far, so good.
All right, I've got a few.
You got a few.
I've actually chewed through a few things recently.
So what we got?
Well, I'm gonna start with some tabletop.
All right.
I know.
Roll them dice.
I know. I have not talked about tabletop game, throwing dice, all that in a while. Because let's be honest, I'm a little tired of D&D.
Yeah, it happens.
I've so much over so long. I just right. But my buddy wanted to try the Aliens RPG.
Yeah.
So this is an Aliens TTRPG storyline set in the Colonial Marines time period of the Aliens franchise. And we started with we're going through the starter box and using the pre-made characters, which is this crew of a ship hauling this ore that turns into helium.
Yeah.
Insert joke here. We've already gone over it. Anyways, so we're doing this, and I picked the pilot, who their flaw is that they need a stimulant in order to survive their shift. Otherwise, they just start going twitchy and all this stuff, which is such a great aspect for a pilot. Mm-hmm. But to set this up, you're in cryo, you're traveling to this planet to drop your load of ore, and you get close to the planet. You're being woken up by Mother.
Okay.
Which is the AI running the ship, a lot like for the original Alien movie. And then you have to go and investigate this ship. And we had a group of 5 people all playing, all prefab characters, and I mean, this RPG system is nuts. It's a D6 based system. So what that means for those who are uninformed is in these D6 systems, you put together a pool of dice based on your stat. Like if I have a 5 in pilot and a 4 in another skill, I would have a pool of 9 dice. Okay. I would have to roll. And when I roll these 9 dice, or this pool of dice, anything that's a 5 or 6 is considered a success.
Okay.
You then count up the number of successes, and that determines what happens. Okay. You also have a mechanic involved, which is stress. And when you have the stress, you have another D6 style that comes in, but it's got fewer success ratings and more failures. And for the failure, the nat 1, so to speak, is an image of a face hugger. So
yeah, okay.
So you roll your pool, and if you get you get the failures and you're stressed, you have to roll against this critical failure table.
Okay.
And it goes the gambit from not affected to you're just losing it, right? And I survived both of my stress tests, so I was good. But what was fun with the group is as the session was progressing, we just started playing into the movie trope. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm the pilot. The captain and the rest of the crew we're deciding who's gonna go aboard the ship.
Okay.
I'm like, I'm staying on this one because I'm the pilot.
Yep.
So I'm not going
anywhere. I wouldn't.
No. I may be strung out, but I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
So while the rest of the crew is on the ship, I get up, I go into the kitchen, I make a bowl of popcorn.
Okay.
And I come out, And at one point, the crew is like, "Hey, where'd Steve go? Where's the pilot?" I walked back in with my bowl of popcorn. I said, "Guys, I made popcorn. Y'all do whatever." And then it was like, oh, and then they, the game master circles back around, and he's like, "All right, so what are you doing?" I said, I'm on the bridge of our ship. I've got my feet kicked up, and I'm putting on a holo vid of this old movie from 20th Century Fox."
There you go.
And it's like we're all dying at the reference.
Yeah.
Because, and if you get it, then you get it. So
yeah,
we're already on the right level.
I see you there. I see you.
Well, then we get further along, and there are 6 of us at the table. Right, 2 people. There's 6 players, 5 character sheets. So my 2 of my friends, they decided to play the same character but with DID.
Yep.
So it's like you have this conflicting personality as they're trying to play the character, which is absolutely hilarious. But it gets to the point where half of the table is in this event, in this scene. The rest of us aren't doing anything. So again, this movie theme, we stand up, we stand off to the side, and then we start acting like we're in the movie theater watching this movie play out, and commenting on the script and the direction and all of the chaos.
That's just funny.
As a movie guy, you would appreciate this. This
I'm already loving it. I'm loving it from afar, people.
So that was the Aliens RPG. We're probably going to play that again. Well, hopefully we're going to play that again soon and carry on with the story. The other game, I finally got to play a session.
Finally.
And that is the Shadowrun 6th World game that I've had for a few years now, and I've always wanted to play.
You've had it for a while, yeah.
We tried to get started in it, but we never really picked up on it.
Yeah.
It's no fault to anybody. I'm not sitting there doing that, but I still have always wanted to try and play. Well, another one of my friends, he said, "Hey, I've got a couple of buddies in my platoon at the sheriff's department, and we all want to play a game and want to get this game thing together." And it's like, all right, well, I can host. That's fine. And my friend wanted to be the GM for this, which is great. Less stress on me. I get to be a player because I don't play a lot. I do a lot of running the games, not a lot of playing the game.
Yeah.
So we sit down for our first session of Shadowrun, and when I tell you we went off the rails, that's not an exaggeration, because everything I've been told about Shadowrun is it's an espionage game.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with Cyberpunk, then you have an idea on this, because it's a Cyberpunk D&D.
I'm familiar with Cyberpunk.
Yeah. Right? So it's all about espionage. It's not really about D&D and getting into a fight.
Yeah.
Apparently, that is not how our character sheets are written, and that is not how the players think.
Nope.
Because I play the hacker, the net runner, or they call it a decker. One guy is the street samurai. One guy is the mage, and one guy is the corporate operative. And it's like we start the scene in a convenience store.
Yeah.
And as we go to leave the convenience store, we find that outside there's 3 or 4 of the street gangs all conglomerated together, escorting this limo into this warehouse district.
Yeah.
And they tell us, is like, you need to stay in the store for your own protection. Now, the street samurai is an orc, and anybody who knows D&D knows that orcs don't have the greatest impulse control.
No, they don't. In most games.
So, and of course, we're learning this system, and this is another D6 based system. We have to build up these dice pools for your actions. Well, when the GM asked him, "What are you going to do?" Because at this point, the store is filling with poison gas.
You might die.
There's an orc holding the door shut and blocking our view out the window. And we need to get out. So the samurai's like, all right, I kick open the door. Famous last words. He kicked the door with so much force that it went opposite the way it was hinged, slapped around, smacked the orc that was holding the door shut through the window into the store. And it's like, well, it's on like Donkey Kong now. We're getting into a fight. And we got through the first scene. Everybody got into the van, raced away, a few gunshots. Everybody's cool. But it was that first kind of getting used to this new system and going through it. Another one of those. It was a raw fun, but what makes great tabletop enjoyable is the people you have around the table.
It's always about the crew.
The crew is what will make it, and when you get a crew of like-minded people and they understand the basic etiquette of being around the table, it can be some wild adventures.
It is very wild.
So that was the tabletop side. As for the video game side, I actually went through a few video games. I finally sat down to play the Metro series, and I have to say they did not hold my interest. I like the concept for the games, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, they have a good concept. I've never tried them.
But I found the first-person shooter standpoint right now something that really was less exciting to me as a gamer.
Yeah.
Than in the past. Now I tried Metro 2033 and I tried Metro Exodus. Both of them great graphics, great story hooks, but for me the first person shooter gameplay mechanic wasn't doing it. It wasn't holding my interest.
Yeah, the first person shooter, it's usually if it has an RPG built-in element, I enjoy it. That's why I enjoyed like Cyberpunk 2077 and what's the other one I play? Borderlands 3, 2 and 3.
Goes into that, but it's the like I tried this on the Switch and the Switch was too dark for me to really enjoy it. I pulled it up because I bought the bundle on PlayStation. It was like $6 at one of their sales, so I didn't invest too much into it. But it's one of those, when I first heard about the game and saw the game concepts, I thought they were really cool. I thought the story was good. I've been meaning to buy the books they're all based off of. Great tidbit, if you ever play the games, there's actually Easter eggs of the books each game is based on in the first parts of the game when you're in your room and stuff. So yeah, pretty cool. Metro 2033, Metro 2034, and Metro 2035. They're the three books.
Yeah.
The premise is great, but like I said, it just didn't hold my interest.
Yeah, it happens. You know, first-person shooters, it's one of those things where it's going to hit or miss, and if it doesn't hit, it's going to definitely miss hard.
Yeah. So the game I did finally settle on, and I played 3 or 4 days in a row, was the 2018 release of God of War.
Yep.
Finally, I sat down to play this game. I've had it. I've been meaning to sit down, but it's just had to feel right to sit and play it. So now I'm, I don't know, 10 hours, 15 hours in. I've got the Chaos Blades. I'm going through all the side quest stuff, circling around the Lake of the Nine, and I'm having a lot of fun because for me, it's that action RPG element that, you know, if you play God of War, this God of War that was released on PlayStation 4 in 2018, it was so different than the previous God of War games, which were very linear, not a lot of RPG and open world. This one had more open world RPG type stuff, but it was that third person perspective kind of adventure game. That's what was doing it, because I was seriously debating doing yet another playthrough of the Tomb Raider franchise.
Yeah, the Tomb Raider games are great. I have all 3 of those. So.
I do, and I think I played the first one 3 times, maxed it out each time. And the second one I played once. The third one I haven't finished, but that style of game is really kind of interesting.
That action adventure.
Yeah, and I'm thinking I'm going to try and be juggling, and call me crazy all you want. I think I'm going to try and juggle God of War and Witcher 3, because in a couple of weeks, Witcher 3's enhanced edition for the next-gen consoles is supposed to drop. and they've got some really interesting elements they're introducing for that. They're fixing a lot of they're fixing some graphic stuff, they're fixing some UI stuff, and they're adding stuff that's related to the Witcher series on Netflix. Like you can actually pick Henry Cavill's Geralt armor and use it as a playable skin in Witcher 3. So it's like, now I personally have not gotten very far in Witcher 3. Unlike yourself, Ry, you've played through the whole thing, a good chunk of it, all the expansions. So it's like you've invested your 2 years of life.
I mentioned it pretty much when that game came out on the Xbox One. I played. It was a year plus, and I went through that main story end to end side quest. I didn't do one of the expansions. I think it was Blood and Wine, because that was just an extra quest on the thing. I'd got the other one, where you went to a different continent or a different area.
I think you're mixing the two. There's Blood and Wine, and then there's the Mirror Heart of Stone.
Yeah, that was one I didn't play through. The Blood and Wine I did, because that's the one where you go to Toussaint.
Yeah, you have to deal with the vampire, and it has that great ending to Geralt's story.
I never finished it, but I played a good chunk of it. And yeah, I was like, okay, I've played the main stuff, so I'm good. I'm good. I'm ready for the next iteration of The Witcher.
Yeah. Me, I haven't played that much of it, so I might.
I say if you haven't, definitely get it.
Well, I bought the Game of Year edition for Xbox. So if it's, hey, I've already got my license and you're just giving me this free upgrade, I'm in. I'll start playing it again on my Series S.
Yeah.
And try to just juggle between the two.
That would be a good pairing, because you can go from one to the other and not be too bored.
Yeah. Because I mean, I'm at the point with God of War, I'm starting to grind.
Yeah.
And it's that grinding. Grinding is typically like, that's what happened to me with Horizon Forbidden West. Is I got to the point where I had story quests to go through, but I wanted to grind the gear. And max out all my gear, and that got a little monotonous. Great game, great world, but I think the fact that I played it damn near every day for the month of February.
Yeah, that's
when
why
I wasn't working.
Yeah.
Or all that. It's like, yeah, that gets a little old pretty quick. So it's that pacing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the pacing, and that's why I do, rules of 3 with games. I always have at least 3 games I can play, so I don't get too bored until I move on to the next one.
Dude, we've been talking for over an hour.
Yeah.
I think we should probably call it here, because I don't want to get too much further in there.
All right.
We'll have to save some of those odds and ends for next time. Definitely that wrap up. Let's save that for next time as well.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we're good. I think we covered a lot. I think we had a lot of conversation.
Yes. But at least since it's Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Since it's Thanksgiving, we should at least do that one odd and end.
That one odd and end. All right.
C.
Set me up for this odd and end.
So since it's Thanksgiving, we should at least end on a funny Thanksgiving story.
Oh my God. I heard about this on my Wall Street Journal podcast.
Yep. So, everybody, when you have Thanksgiving, everybody loves to have a turkey at the dish. People love turkeys. Well, there is a part of the United States where the turkey is not very fond of humans, and he's actually a very terrorizing turkey that actually has a gang of turkeys.
Yeah, I was hearing about this. This couple in where are they at?
Woburn, Massachusetts.
Massachusetts has these turkeys that are actively harassing them.
Yeah, actively harassing. So it's a gang of turkeys led by this one turkey that has been called Kevin. So these 5 wild birds, quote, spend a lot of time in this particular lawn of a woman named Megan Tolson, and pretty much harasses her every time she leaves the house. So,
I'd say it's time to get ready for Christmas dinner.
Yep. So, she has posted multiple various quotes showing Kevin lurking, not just chilling, lurking near the door of her home or her car.
It's a little anthropomorphic, don't you think?
They don't let you out of the house or let you near the vehicle. They're quote, up at 6 a.m. in the lawn and start chasing them, trying to pop the tires.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I think we need. I think we need an intervention there.
Yep. So, yep. So, you know, Kevin, got your eyes on you.
Right?
I love turkey sandwiches, so I got my eyes on you.
Oh, one of my friends, he said they didn't do turkey for Thanksgiving this year. They did chili bowls.
Hey, you know, whatever works.
I guess, but you know, I kind of like that turkey dinner thing. In fact, hell, even when we did our turkey dinner, I didn't bring back a whole lot of leftovers this time.
Hey, that's always a good thing.
Well, they were saying there was going to be some shortages and reduction in turkey sizes because of avian flu that went through a lot of it. So turkeys didn't get as big as they could have.
Well, if that's true, the turkeys I saw at Wegmans were pretty dang big. So.
Yeah, well, we're also talking a small segment. We can only see it at a couple of the stores we go to. Yeah, this is like a national thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, now we can get ready for Christmas and ham and all that fun stuff that goes with that. So, but yeah, that's it for November. It's getting ready for December.
That is it, people.
Before we set sail and head out, I want to thank you all for listening in. Whether you're listening through our Spotify, various podcast platforms, please, thank you. Give us a rating, 5-star or better, because I think we deserve it. I don't know.
I deserve it. You deserve it. We both deserve it. Yes, I do.
If you were entertained, yeah. If you're checking us out on YouTube, through the video version, be sure to make sure you smash those things. You know, the like, the subscribe if you're new.
Bing, 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 bing.
You know, leave a comment in below. What'd you think? What are some of your thoughts? Did you try any of the games we talked about? Have you seen any of the movies we talked about?
Did you like it? Did you hate it?
Yeah.
We want to know.
Give us a thought. Also, I want to give a shout out and a thank you to Sirenscape. Sirenscape.com for your collection of background music and soundboards for your tabletop gaming experience, or for us, a nice background music, the podcast. This is a sound set I created for Scuba and The Ry podcast, and it's got a winter theme to it with a blistering blizzard in the background from their Dungeons and Dragons Dragon Heist adventure pack for one of the seasons of Dragon Heist. A lot of fun, great experience. Plus, they have all kinds of other soundboards for fantasy, sci-fi, all the kinds of fun things. Just go check them out. Sirenscape.com for more information, and check out their website. Check out their streaming platform. Their ability to stream your game to you and your friends if you're still playing virtually, or plenty of apps for you to use here when you're sitting at home. Let's see what else we got. And if you would like to do more to support the studio, you can totally head over to patreon.com/scuba studio and consider being a patron. Every little bit helps if you want to do that. But at the very least, to give us a like, give us a review, share us out with your friends, tell them how enjoyable it is to listen to a couple of guys, a couple of geeks, kind of just ramble on about life, games,
just being straight up nerds.
Yep, ain't nothing wrong with that. All right, everybody, you enjoy your weekend. We will see you next time. Later.
Peace.
No, I was trying to come up with a good send off and it just didn't work.
Yeah, it happens.
Like I was just like sitting there and it's like it's not there.
Sometimes it just happens.
It does. It's all good though. It's all good because you guys are awesome.
Awesome to the sauce.
Yay.